A 3-0 lead. You can't ask for more than that when you're in the Western Conference Finals, and that's where the Golden State Warriors find themselves in a commanding 3-0 series lead. Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, and sometimes the Golden State Warriors, joins me. We're going to recap Game 3, preview Game 4, and maybe talk about the Eastern Conference Finals since we're not there yet, but it can't hurt to talk about it a little bit. That is an exciting series. We're going to break all this stuff down next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. You can follow Kevin Danna on Twitter at Kevo408. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow. Kevin, it's a 3-0 lead. The Warriors have defied the majority of the so-called experts and pundits by taking this commanding lead. They've shut Luka down, relatively speaking. I know the stat line doesn't confirm that, but when Andrew Wiggins is putting Luka on the wrong end of a poster, you know the Warriors are doing something right. What is your recap of Game 3 and just any takeaways from that exciting game from a Warriors perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it was business-like to me, basically. Like, they came out, got that 19-7 lead, and it was kind of like, all right, we're here. We're not messing around with this team. This isn't going to be Game 5 against Memphis where they get down 55 points. They came out, and I'm starting to get shades of the 2019 Western Conference Finals against Portland, though I will say I think Portland has put up a much better fight in Game 3 than Dallas did. Portland had a reasonable chance to win games 2 through 4 in that series, and Dallas really has only blown one game in this series. And yeah, they got up 9, but I thought that 10-0 run in the second quarter to take the lead back was probably the biggest run of the game for Golden State, because the Warriors couldn't get anything going offensively. The second quarter, for the vast majority, the first 8 minutes of the second quarter, whatever it was, they were not playing good basketball. And I was looking up at the scoreboard. I'm like, oh, this is right there for the Warriors taking. They're down 5, 7, 9 points. They're right there. Then the Draymond dunk kind of spurred everything. That cut it to 7. Then Steph hits kind of that transition 3. Deep 3, 42-38. Then he hits that corner 3 to give him the lead. And it's like, okay, all right, this team is really serious about taking a 3-0 lead. And I mean, you've heard the stat probably a million times over the game ended at 8:30, so the last 16 hours or so. But winning a road game in 26 straight playoff series is
incredible.
Unreal. Incredible. So obviously, we'll get into the Wiggins dunk, I imagine. I'll save some thoughts on that for later. But, I mean, Wiggins was fantastic. Looney, another great game. Kevon was fantastic in this game. So, yeah, just great stuff all around from a Golden State perspective.
And that stat, I don't think it's talked about enough, just because it's such a symbol of the Warriors' dominance for so long now. 26 straight playoff series. I think this dates back to 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. When the Warriors played the Spurs, and that was that really to me was the eye-opening moment for the world in terms of the Warriors making their presence felt. And the Spurs won that series, but the Warriors won, I think, Game 1 on the road, and that was the Spurs. Right, correct? Was it 2?
So a couple of things, not to be but
correct.
So it goes back to the Denver Nuggets series in the first round. So Steph Curry, Clay, and Dre have won a road game in every playoff series that they have played together. So yeah, they took Game 2 from Denver in the first round. They took Game 2 from San Antonio in the second round. Kent Bazemore had a layup to put them up 1 in Game 1 in overtime with 2 seconds left, and I think Manu Ginobili got fouled or something. I forget exactly what the play was.
No, you're right.
But,
That
like,
sounds right.
the Spurs hit, like, 2 free throws or something in the final second to win game 1 in OT. Then, to me, surprisingly, the Warriors came back and won game 2 because I'm like, "Oh, that's their chance." Then, they eventually lost that series in 6.
Yeah, but that's serious. I mean, the Warriors showed fight in that series. Like even the Spurs kind of took notice. Like, whoa, these guys did not roll
Yeah.
over. You're absolutely right. I kind of meant that playoff run in terms of it all
Yep.
starting. But yeah, the,
Yep.
the Nuggets. I mean, George Karl to this day, I had him on the show a few weeks ago. Still maintains that Andre Iguodala was communicating with Mark Jackson in that series. It's a fascinating accusation, and he doesn't really get specific, or he's not really making accusations of like nefarious actions or of any sort of espionage per se. It was just, but they were talking, and George Karl just didn't like that, and who knows what information was shared between the two. But that is a phenomenal run, 26 straight playoff
Yeah.
series, and when you think about it, the most playoff series you're going to play per year is 4.
4, yep.
So, it's not hard to do the math there. 26 divided by 4 is approximately what, 6.5
Yep.
playoff runs and counting. It is remarkable. I really cannot. I don't think that should be talked about. It can be talked about enough. It's just a really fascinating stat. Let's talk about Andrew Wiggins. Let's start with
Yeah.
him. He deserves his accolades. I mean, look, Stephen Curry. It is weird. This is the first year they're going to have MVP awards for the conference finals.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt in my mind Stephen Curry is going to get it. It's
Definitely.
just he's so damn good that he fights his own standards, right? And that's the one thing remaining that's an obstacle for him just earning accolades is like he's set the bar so high that when he doesn't reach his own bar, people are kind of disappointed a little bit. But Stephen Curry is still at the peak of his powers. 31 points, 11 assists. I mean, that is just a fantastic playoff line for game 3 of the Western Conference Finals. He shot 50% from the field, 50% from 3. He went 5 for 10 for 3. But let's talk about Andrew Wiggins, man, just because this is fresh blood for the Warriors in terms of playoff success. He had that monster dunk that they try to take away with the offensive foul call. He put in a playoff career high 27 points to go along with 11 rebounds. But I think it's his defense that's really sticking out, his aggressiveness. Give me your thoughts and give everyone else your thoughts about Andrew Wiggins. How are you? Yeah, what are your takeaways about him? This is tremendous.
My takeaways are whatever I need to do to contribute from my bank account to make sure he gets a max contract with Golden State, I will contribute. Like this guy has been unreal. If I need to like cut off one of my fingers, I'll do it. Like this guy has been unreal for the Warriors in the postseason. And I mean the 27 and 11. You mentioned the defense, and obviously the stat lines that Luka is putting up doesn't really speak necessarily to the defense that
Correct.
Andrew has played. Besides game 1, where he really like it showed in the box score.
Yeah.
But through 3 games, I was just reading an article that pointed this out. Andrew Wiggins is a Golden State best plus 66, and Luka Doncic is a Dallas worst minus 61, and they mirror each other's minutes. Like basically, when Luka goes out, Steve Kerr pulls Andrew Wiggins, and when Luka goes back in, Steve Kerr puts Andrew Wiggins back in for the most part. And doesn't mean he's guarding him the whole time, because they went to the box and won, where Moody was the one guarding Luka Doncic, and so that did bring Wiggins off him a little bit. But man, he's just making it tough on the most for the most part defensively. And I mean, the dunk he had on Luka, I mean,
Mm,
even if the challenge didn't work, you had to challenge that, right? Like the offensive foul call. Like I don't care, for the sake of basketball, you challenge
yes.
that, even if
Yes.
it was an offensive foul, which it wasn't. Like you just have to challenge that. And I tweeted last night that it was the second best dunk in Warriors playoff history,
Greg
Barron
Barron?
over
Yeah.
Andre Karolinko. But honestly, considering the stakes, and it's just
Yes.
like BD over AK-47 has more sentimental value for like Warriors fans who, that was the first time that I had ever seen the Warriors in the playoffs. Like when I was in high school, I never dreamed of the Warriors making the playoffs. And then they're there in the
Yes.
second round and they're just blowing out the Utah Jazz. This was an 8-point game in the fourth quarter. Like Dallas was still in it. Like the
Yes.
crowd was still in it. And like this, I mean, it didn't end the game because Dallas cut it to 5 in the final minute, But man, as terms of importance of a dunk, and like I know Andre Kirilenko was one of the best defensive players like in that 2006-7 range.
AK-47, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like Luka is not a great defender at this point in his career. When he gets engaged defensively, he can be a decent defender, but that's not every night. But still, the fact that it was Luka Doncic, the fact that it was an 8-point game in the fourth quarter, and it helped the Warriors go up 3-0 and get one win closer to the NBA Finals. Because while the Warriors did beat the Jazz in that game, they lost that series in 5 games. That was the only
Yep.
game they won in that series. Though they really should have won Game 2. They absolutely screwed. They screwed themselves out of Game 2 in Utah, and they were there in Game 4, and they probably should have won Game 5 in that series. That's another story. But
It is another
man,
story. I feel like we could dedicate a whole a podcast episode, or maybe we will this summer, to just that series, because Darren Williams is a subject of discussion, given how the precipice of his decline was so steep. Jerry Sloan getting screwed over. I always feel like he's one of the greatest coaches this game has ever seen, and
yeah.
Darren Williams drove him out. And you're right, the Warriors they lost in 5 despite that dunk. But great astute observation of the Wiggins impact. I do hope that the NBA takes a look at that blatant Luka flop that was really the catalyst for the foul call being made. I mean, the ref got duped by a mid-air flop. That might be the first of its kind. And we've seen retroactive fines issued for flopping. So I'm curious.
You're not gonna fine Luka for that. He got embarrassed enough on that play. Like, come on.
I know.
Don't rub salt in the wound.
Have you? I'll rub salt in any Warriors opponent's wounds.
Well, I know you will.
I don't care. No, but look, I'll say this: have you ever seen a player of Luka's magnitude in terms of stardom and just overall talent and impact get posterized like that? Ever? Usually these are like bench players, role players. Like, it's almost like the ref was trying to protect Luka from being, immortalized for the wrong reasons. Like, thoughts?
The first thing that comes to my mind, and Jordan Truthers will be quick to point out that this wasn't a posterization, but John Starks going baseline on MJ in the 93 Eastern Conference Finals.
Of course, great call.
But like, it wasn't him towering necessarily over a defender when Andrew Wiggins takes contact, he seems to go up another couple of inches.
True.
There isn't another player where it just feels like if Andrew Wiggins gets hit in the air, it extends his vertical. It's like he's using that player as a launching pad. And like the Jordan Starks dunk, the Starks over Jordan dunk, like Jordan was kind of coming over, I think, to try to cut him off on the baseline, but got there late. So it wasn't exactly a facial. That's the closest thing I can think of to like a player of Luka's like caliber. And obviously MJ's like up here and Luka's down here, comparatively speaking. But I mean, I'd have to think about that a little bit more. I'm sure there are like better comparisons to be made.
You were not prepared for that question, so I'm not expecting you to, in your encyclopedia of memory, to come up with something. And maybe there is nothing else. I mean, John Starks, as great of a player as he was, does not compare to Luka either. I mean, so in terms of the stature
former
of the
Warrior
victim,
John Starks,
fair. I mean, those were like the way past his prime days when he was with the Warriors. That was part of that.
When we got John Starks that year, I'm like, whoa, we got John Starks. I was like 12 years old at the time. That was like the first year. I'm like, oh, are the Warriors going to make the playoffs this year? Like, they finished 21-29. And like, I maintain if they didn't blow like a 17-point lead in the final 5 minutes against the Lakers that year, Kobe like tips in his own miss to send the game to overtime. They could have really made a run at going to the postseason that year. And then like, I was like, all right, the Warriors are making the playoffs next year. And let's just say that didn't happen.
No, that was part of that
for the next 6 years after that.
Yeah, that was part of that string of 17 out of 18 years where they missed the playoffs. That was just dark times for Dub Nation. Quickly, some love given to a relatively new sponsor of the program, Sakara. Look, in this day and age, caring about your health is obviously important, right? And I'm a firm believer in the adage of you are what you eat. And feeling your best starts with what you eat. Sakara helps you live a healthy, balanced lifestyle and truly enjoy it. with delicious plant-rich transformational nutrition that builds a foundation for living in your best body. Sakara is a wellness company anchored in food as medicine, on a mission to nourish your body through the power of plants. I could use that right now, especially. Sakara gives you the tools you need to transform your life with their organic, ready-to-eat meal delivery program and functional wellness essentials. And right now, Sakara is offering our listeners 20% off their first order when they go to sakara.com/locked-on20 or enter locked on 20 at checkout. That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/locked on 20 to get 20% off your first order. Again, Sakara.com/locked on 20.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Make sure to go check out the Locked On NBA Big Board. Host Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies and author of the NBA Big Board newsletter is joined by Richard Stamen, Sam Ferris, and Leif Thulin, giving fans an in-depth look into the NBA draft, mock draft, player rankings, and, of course, the big boards. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. Kevin Danna is free and available on Twitter. You can follow him at Kevo408. Kevin, I was wondering what you think about this. And This is from my personal observation. It felt like the Warriors had 6 players on the court when the Mavericks had the ball. Like the Warriors defense was so swarming. It was so overwhelming. I can't remember the last time it felt so one-sided, even though the score of the game in game 3 was close for pretty much the entire throughout the beginning to end. I was never worried. Like, I never at any point in that game was nervous. I never really felt concerned that the Warriors might lose this game. And again, defensively, I mean, they're out rebounding this Mavericks team despite size-wise being more comparable to them versus, say, the Grizzlies, but they're just pounding the boards. They're just killing them, I think, in almost every facet of the game. Would you agree with that? And do you think the Mavericks have any fight left? I haven't seen a Warriors opponent in a long time give off the 1-2-3 Cancun vibes. Usually the Warriors opponents are tryhards who just refuse to give up. This Mavericks team looks defeated. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Luka kind of sounded defeated after the game when he's like, "Well, I'm 23, I'm still learning a lot, wherever we are after this postseason, wherever we are." And it's like he didn't exactly say that this is done, but it's like if he's already thinking about after the postseason on some level in his subconscious, like they know it's over. And I mean, no NBA team has come back from 3-0, and I'm not sure that the Dallas Mavericks are going to be the Boston Red Sox to the Warriors New York Yankees in 2004 per se. I mean, I don't think the Mavericks are going to roll over. Like, don't shovel dirt on them yet, but I have zero expectations of this series going beyond 5 games. And I think I have a lot more faith in Golden State winning game 4 in Dallas than I did about Golden State winning game 4 in Denver. I think that the Warriors can sense it and how important it would be to have basically 9 days off, more than a week off in between games, because game 1 of the NBA Finals is June 2nd. So if you can get that kind of a break and you can, get Otto Porter healthy, Gary Payton II healthy, Andre Iguodala healthy, have that much more in your toolbox per se, like that would be huge for the
That
Warriors
would.
going up against either the Celtics or the Miami Heat. But yeah, to your point with respect to the defense, like they rotated so well. And like even when they were scrambling and there was one possession, Stan Van Gundy made the point of like it didn't look like half the defense was in man and half the defense didn't then that half didn't like get the memo that it was supposed to be a zone defense. But they still made them work for like 22 seconds before they got a wide open 3.
Yep.
And Dallas, you say after game 1, well, they're not going to go 11 of 48 from 3 again. Well, they went 13 of 45. It's not a whole lot better. And I mean, I
Yep.
guess the pattern is that they're not going to miss anything in the first half of game 4 like they did in game 2. And I would expect them to be at least 35% from 3 in game 4. And So, if they take around 45 to 53s, they're going to hit 16 to 18 of them, I would assume, in game 4, and that's going to make things more difficult. But yeah, no, Golden State was pretty much on a string defensively. I mean, they gave up 68 points to the first 3 quarters of that game. They held Dallas to 40% shooting, and again, I mean, 47-33 rebound edge. Like the Warriors rebounding this whole entire postseason has been something to really commend, I think, because they were a good rebounding team in the regular season, but that seemed to be like the biggest question mark for the Warriors going into the playoffs. Was how are they going to be able to hold up against size? And they out-rebounded and significantly out-rebounded Memphis in 5 of the 6 games. I don't exactly remember the rebounding stats against the Denver Nuggets, but, I mean, they've been killing Dallas on the glass. I mean, to the point that, it was something Stan Van Gundy and Reggie Miller were talking about. Basically, every other possession, it felt like, here's another offensive rebound for Kevon Looney. Oh, Dallas is getting killed in second chance points or second chance opportunities. And, I mean, second chance points – 18-4 last night in a 9-point game. So there you go. 14-7 in offensive rebounds.
It's incredible. I need to see a profile on Kevon Looney's hands because they look very similar to Kawhi Leonard's. Like, I feel like if his hands are on the ball, no one's taking it away from him. And his Kevon Looney, man, he's not going to be getting enough accolades. No matter how much people give him praise, I don't think it's enough. I mean, what he's doing this postseason is exemplary outside of the first round. I mean, look, Nikola Jokic was just such a ridiculous matchup for the Warriors that, I think in that Nuggets series, I think they won a couple of the games, the rebounding battle. I got to look back myself. And then I do know they lost a few of those games as well. But you're right, man. The Grizzlies were really the test for rebounding. And the fact they won 5 of those 6 games in terms of the rebounding battle, they've out rebounded the Mavericks 2 games in a row now by 14. It's remarkable. I want to play some sound real quick from Stephen Curry. This was Curry talking about possibly coming out of this series with a sweep and the team's overall outlook.
At this moment, with the way the pieces have come together, do you feel like this team is ready to win a championship?
I mean, I'm not going to fast forward. Like, we're playing great basketball right now. We can play better, but we're finding ways to, like I said, win games, and that's how you piece this thing together. Like, there's no expectation other than what's the challenge ahead of us, and the challenge now is to close out a series against a really good team to get back to the opportunity to win the finals. Like, if you asked us, we talked about it when the playoffs started, like, we had high hopes, and we still do, to win a championship, but we had no idea what it was going to look like, and our goal was to keep getting better as the playoffs went through, because we were so far from our peak with everything that you said going into how the season ended. So that's not lost on us, but it's exciting knowing we have an amazing opportunity on Tuesday to come out the West.
I don't think Stephen Curry's acumen is given enough respect or attention. He is one of the smartest basketball minds I've ever heard. Piece of advice for anyone who wants to be better acclimated and sound smarter when you're covering the Warriors: listen carefully to everything Stephen Curry says. I do. I listen to every single word. And the fact that he doesn't think the Warriors have reached their best, that they're not at their peak yet, that is astounding. When we come back, I want to play one more soundbite from Klay Thompson talking about whether or not the Warriors are the favorites. I want to talk about the Celtics Heat series. I first want to give some love to BetOnline, one of our longtime sponsors. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports information. And the line for Game 4 is out. The Warriors are underdogs. The Mavericks are favored by 1. The money line, however, is not going to reward you if you do bet on the Warriors. They're -105 to -115 for the Mavericks, and the over-under is 215.5. Kevin, I know you don't bet on these games, but if you worry, betting man, what are your thoughts on the Mavericks being the favorites in Game 4?
Well, my thoughts are, if both teams are -105 and -115, Vegas wins. They should make every money line like that. I mean, they can't.
True.
They can't go wrong. They should hope for every. That's my thought when I heard that initially.
Well, I also think it might be emblematic of the fact that The Warriors, I mean, there is an argument to be made that if the Warriors don't come out strong in game four, like if the Mavericks have a great start, the Warriors might just mail it in early, similar to what we saw in game five against the Grizzlies, and save it for game five, simply because there's been no rest in this series and the minutes are higher than normal for this Warriors team. They're not digging deep into the bench. I'm looking at the minutes, for example, in game three. Steph and Clay had 39 minutes. Wiggins also had 39 minutes. That's above what they normally play. They're usually in the 34, 35-minute range. Draymond Green had 36. And again, they didn't dig that deep into the bench. Otto Porter Jr. with the foot injury, just 6 minutes in. Juan Toscano Anderson played 5 minutes. So outside of the starting five, you had 27 minutes from Poole, 16 from Moody. And we could talk about that in just a moment because I love what I'm seeing from this kid. But I do think there was a possibility that if the Warriors don't come out like gangbusters in game four, you might just see a lot of minutes from Kuminga, Bjelica, and Moody and just save it for game five. Is that a fair assessment, or do you think I'm totally off in saying that, Kevin?
No, I mean, I don't think you're off in saying that because that's essentially what happened in game five against Memphis. Like, I mean, they got down 40 and then Mike Brown's like, all right, we got to pull the plug on this. We'll live to fight another day. I don't, as hot as Dallas can get from three, I don't think they're capable of going up 30 plus
Same.
on Golden State because they are a very good defensive team. Like, that's how they profile. But in this series, they have been a very bad defensive team. Like game two, I'm doing stats for Chuck Cooperstein. Great he's Dallas Mavericks radio guy, very good broadcaster. But it's like time and time again when the Mavericks needed to stop because they were getting enough buckets to really threaten Golden State there down, the last stretch. It was layup after layup after layup after layup after layup for Golden State. Steph Curry got to the hoop whenever he wanted. Jordan Poole got to the hoop whenever he wanted. And I don't see Dallas getting up, even if they go like 14 of 20 from three in the first half. And that would actually be a low number of 3-point attempts for them in a half. But say they're 16 to 25 from three in the first half, which they can certainly do if they get on a heater because they had a ton of wide open threes. And
yes, they did.
Reggie Bullock and Maxi Kleber eventually will hit shots. I mean, Reggie Bullock was 6 of 10 from three in game two. I don't expect him to have another offer. Like they are getting wide open looks and just aren't hitting them. And so like those will go down. But even if they do hit 16 threes in the first half, I don't think like they got up 19 on Golden State in game two. Like maybe at home they can get that to like 25, 27. But they're not going to take a 55-point lead against Golden State. They're not going to take like a 40-point lead against Golden State. So, like, I think that's as out of hand as Dallas can push it against the Warriors.
That's fair. And you're in game two. The Mavericks started the game 15 of 27 from three. So we'll see how it goes. But regardless, the Mavericks are favored. And BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Kevin Danna on Twitter at Kevo408. Kev, I haven't made this a secret. I mentioned this on Twitter. I'm fighting. I'm at the early stages of fighting the company video. And I kid you not, man, when we started this show, I felt fine. I was like, hey, let's do this. I'm pumped. And right now I feel like I'm dying. Like it's crazy. It's like a roller coaster of emotions. Literally right now, every bone in my body hurts. And I felt fine. So I'll try to make it through the end. I want to play this Klay Thompson soundbite real quick. Yeah, it's crazy, man. This is a wild thing. You went through this in like this. Do you mind if I share that? I could cut this out if you want.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's fine. I got it right before Christmas and was spending Christmas in isolation. It was actually a great Christmas. I was looking forward. I could watch basketball for 12 hours and play poker online and not have to worry about family obligations. It was fantastic, actually.
That's what we're doing. Yeah. So, yeah, it's all fun, folks. So please, and the way my family got it is from my stepson's friend whose family is pretty much anti-vaxxers, which drives me crazy.
Oh,
Just get vaccinated, folks. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to make this a political thing, but it's asinine to not do so. Here is Klay Thompson, by the way. He said that he still believes the Warriors are the favorites to win the NBA Finals. A little bold on his part. I wholeheartedly agree with him. I've been saying so since August of last year, but let's hear it from the source himself. Here's Klay Thompson.
Well, you've been saying basically all year that this team's going to win a championship. So why else, that this is what this team's in there for? Do you feel like this team is the championship favorite?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anybody else, and I'm pretty sure that we have home court if we were to win the next game, come the finals. So, I mean, we got championship DNA, and we got some great young talent, and we're just meshing at the right time.
Bam. I don't know how else. That's short, sweet, right to the point. What do you, the Warrior, it's incredible. The Warriors are 5 wins away from their 4th world title in 8 years. The accomplishments of this team are historical. It's phenomenal. It's also wild to me how many people have been writing them off until now. Now, all of a sudden, all the people who bet against them are acting like they never said a thing, and people are more and more getting on the Warriors train. Celtics Heat's been an interesting series. I think a lot of people were also writing off the Miami Heat, but they have a 2-1 series lead. And the more I watch the series, the more I'm confident that regardless of who the opponent is, I still prefer the Miami Heat. I think the Celtics are going to be a tougher route, but nonetheless, I still think the Warriors are going to beat whoever they face in the finals. Home court advantage is going to help tremendously. What are your thoughts on that series, man? Floor is yours, man. Give me your thoughts on what you're liking there. And I hate looking ahead. I mean, the Warriors still have to finish the series, but let's say they do so. I mean, what are you thinking in terms of the NBA finals, and just go for it, please.
yeah, for sure. And after I finish my thoughts on Heat Celtics, I do want to come back to a couple of things that were said earlier in the podcast.
We'll say that.
Okay.
However, whatever order you want to go. Go for
All
it.
Right. But I'll start with the most pressing question. I think the Celtics have been the better team in this series for maybe 8 of the 12 quarters that have been played. Like, they got off to a horrendous start in game 3. They had a horrible quarter 3 in game 1. And outside of that, I mean, like, Miami kind of went away from what got them the lead like pretty early in that game. Like, they zoomed out to a 46-20 lead and then just kind of played with their food for the next like 2 quarters, and then we're like, oh, all right, we need to win this game again. And then Max Strus bailed them out with a couple of big threes.
Yes, he did.
I think I just thought that the Celtics were defending at a much better level for good chunks of game 3. And like when they were down 19 points, I'm like, the Celtics are going to win this game. I really thought that the Celtics were going to win that game when they were down like 20 plus. I just thought they after they got down 46-20, they were playing better than Miami. And so I still think the Celtics are going to win that series. It has been all right, there a couple of blowouts. I've still been intrigued by the series, and it's the conference finals. I'm going to watch them no matter what. So I expect Jason Tatum to have a much better game 4 than he had in game 3. I expect the Celtics to win and send this back to Miami, a 2-2 series. I don't think now Jimmy Butler is going to play tonight. Most likely, I heard Woj say that on NBA Today a little bit earlier, but I think Tyler Hero's out. So,
Correct.
So no Tyler
Correct.
Hero, and he hasn't had the best postseason run, but he's a very capable player. And so 6th man of the year, he averaged 20 plus in the regular season. I like Miami now. I think Marcus Smart is questionable for this game. I expect him to play because he's a tough dude. And so I expect Boston to make this a 2-2. I wouldn't be surprised if they win this in 6 games. Then, but that's just me, and I don't know.
In 6? Wait,
Yeah,
so
I
you think
think
Celtics
so. I think they
they're
can
gonna
win the
run
next
off?
3 games, is what I'm saying.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I wouldn't be surprised. And it's like, all right, if this goes to a game 7, how worried are you about the Miami home court advantage? I don't think they have that much of a home court advantage. No disrespect
That's
to
bold,
Miami
brother.
Heat
That is a bold take. I love it.
but
Okay.
I just a game 7 in Boston's a lot more daunting than a game 7 in Miami. I'll just put it that way. At least
hell yeah.
I think
Hell
so.
yeah.
Yeah. The a couple of other things that I wanted to get to, because you were talking about Kevon Looney's hands and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's definitely one thing. The thing that I think we all forget about Kevon Looney's 6'9" with a 7'4" wingspan. I just read that in an article and like, oh yeah, this guy has a long wingspan. And so like he's able to kind of outreach people for rebounds and stuff.
Yes.
Like that
You've
wingspan.
seen that, right? You see him get those
Yeah.
rebounds where like he just reaches.
And,
You're right. Great
and he
call on
can
that. He
kind of
reached.
tap it to himself, and like
Yeah.
7'4" wingspan is huge for a guy who's
Yeah.
6'9". That's +7, 7 inches wingspan greater than your height. And
Incredible.
so that's huge. And then this last thing on company video, as we call it here, the fact that like
As I'm
you
calling
need
it.
to say, the fact that you need to say that like I don't want to make this political talking about vaccinations. Like only America could be stupid enough to make vaccinations in a pandemic a political issue. Like how dumb are we that we have to like preface stuff like that? Like, oh, I don't want to, like we don't want to like alienate part of our listenership because of it's seen as a political issue. This is not a political issue. It's like it's very clearly this is a pandemic, and very clearly one way to help curb things is to get vaccinated. And the fact that we have to say disclaimers like that just shows you how dumb we are as a country. But anyways, this isn't Locked On MSNBC. This is Locked On Warriors. I understand.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you. And thank you for expressing yourself, man. I don't. No, I agree. There's nothing else to say about that. I also want to give kudos real quick to Draymond Green. I don't think we've been talking about him enough because he did have a relatively so game by his standards in game 2. But game 3, I thought he was fantastic. I mean, the 10 points he scored were felt. Even though he didn't get credit for that 3-pointer, his foot was on the line. I mean, just when he's hitting those shots, it is so demoralizing for the opposition because you can't guard him out there. I mean, when you have the amount of weapons the Warriors have offensively, you have to give those up. You cannot come that far out to guard Draymond Green. And when he hits those, I just can't begin to imagine how it feels for the opposition. It's just, I feel like your heart's just sinking. Like we're doing everything we can and they're just killing us with backpack threes now. It's just it's remarkable. And I his inside presence has been obviously fantastic, for a man who's without shoes is 6'5". His wingspan is also long too. It's 7'1". His impact is just phenomenal. And one thing I'm noticing too is that he's not handling the point guard role as much. I think Stephen Curry's kind of taken on that responsibility more. I haven't looked at the usage rates numbers, but I'm guessing Steph's gone up a little bit, but that's fine. I mean, I think with each matchup, you have to just play your opponent accordingly. And in a regular season, you can kind of stick to your roles, but in the postseason, you got to make those adjustments. And Draymond Green is just much better off the ball and maybe kind of fitting into that post kind of triangle formation offensively, where you feed him the ball and then you get the split actions going and he finds the right read. So I just want to give him respect for that. Anything you want to add to that, or did I say it all? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with what you said. Draymond Green's a great pace setter on offense, right? Like
Yes.
he makes sure that ball's whipping and moving, and then also I would agree that I haven't looked at the usage rate either for Stephen Curry. I agree it's gone up, and I think that's a credit to Golden State in this series. Like you want the ball in the hands of your best player, and
Right.
so Steph Curry should be handling the ball, as much as it doesn't get stale or whatever, right? You still want to give defense different looks, but like more often than not, you want Stephen Curry touching the basketball, and so I think that's been a bonus, and I think it's one reason why Golden State only turned it over 10 times last night. Like
that was
they weren't getting super cute. Or they turned it over 13 times. Like if you look at the total turnovers,
yeah, correct. We're looking at the same box score. Yeah, it was. What are the other 3 there though? That is weird because the turnover count. Yeah, sorry.
I mean, I'm guessing that like a shot clock violation's a team turnover that like doesn't go against an
And
individual. So like
I think they had
turnovers
2 of those, right?
so then I don't know. I don't quote me as that's like a team turnover and not like it goes on an individual. But like it's turnovers like that where they can't be pinned on someone individually.
Gotcha.
And that's like what team rebounds are, right? If you see like in a box score, for anyone who looks at like the official box score, you'll see like 47 rebounds, and you look underneath team reb :
Yes.
8. That's like a missed free throw out of the front end, like if you shoot 2 free throws and the first free throw is a missed free throw, there needs to be a rebound for that. And so that will go
Huh.
as an offensive rebound for the team that missed the free throw, even though it's like not an actual offensive rebound.
Oh, that's
Um,
interesting. So
so
that's good.
there
Good.
needs to be a
Actually,
rebound for every missed shot. And so like team rebounds are the rebounds that like, oh, ball gets tipped out of bounds, but the shot was missed. So who gets possession, that team gets a rebound or that kind of thing.
thank you for that 411,
Anyways,
man. Yeah, no, that's great
yeah,
knowledge, dude. The team
that's a
rebound
little
part I
too
wasn't
inside
familiar with.
basketball, but
Yeah, that's great. No, I love that. And yeah, you're right. The team had 13 total turnovers as a team, but individually they had 10, which by the Warriors standards is great.
yeah,
You
13 total turnovers is good for Golden State. That's the
yes,
average in the NBA.
absolutely.
That's good for Golden State.
Absolutely, man. And again, the Warriors, it's crazy to say this. They're 5 wins away from their fourth world title in 8 years, and 5 wins for this Warriors team. That is not a huge obstacle. And I'm see people are remembering again that when this team is focused, when the urgency is there, and when health abides, they're unbeatable. They've never lost when their team is fully healthy. I mean, even when you bring up 2016, it wasn't health necessarily. It was the NBA taking Draymond Green out of one of those games. And then Stephen Curry was not healthy in that series. Andrew Bogut was out at the end of that series. He was important. Andre Iguodala was not healthy for that series. And that's the only time in the Kerr era, the Steve Kerr era, that the team has ever lost in the playoffs. So for the people that have counted this team out, do better. I don't know what I'll say about that. Do better. Uh, love you, brother. Anything last words before we wrap it up?
No, this is a lot of fun. Happy we're
Always.
doing this every Monday. I
Same.
think the Warriors have a 55 to 57% chance of winning game 4.
I
I
love it.
think it's a little better than half. Like I said in game 5 that I thought they had like a 48% chance of winning game 5. Obviously that didn't happen against Memphis, but I feel a little more confident in this closeout game than I have in previous closeout games for Golden State.
Sounds good. Yeah, the confidence is clearly there. And look, even if they lose this game, I don't think it's going to mean a thing. Game 5 at Chase
I
Center would just
mean,
be
honestly, it
rollicking.
would help Golden State. Like they get millions of dollars more.
Yeah,
Like
that would basically be if Otto
or like
Porter Jr. is offered the mid-level exception, for example,
yeah,
that would be game 5. You're game 5.
yeah,
Congrats, Otto Porter
yeah,
Jr.
exactly.
You're taken care of.
I mean,
You're right
obviously
because
the Warriors aren't like throwing playoff games so they can get
right.
more playoff revenue. Like that's not happening. But like that is the silver lining of if they lose game 4. Oh well, we can just make $7 million.
That's true. And I've heard the number is closer to 10. I haven't
Yeah,
seen
yeah, yeah. I was just
a
throwing a
specific
number. But
number, but on
I've
average, I've seen anywhere from like 8 to 10 million per home game
yeah,
is what the Warriors are collecting just from the in-game, like just from their arena revenue. I don't think that includes the TV side of it. So
yeah.
um but yeah, remarkable. And Kevin, thanks as always. You can follow Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors and sometimes Golden State Warriors, on Twitter at Kevo408. Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow, and this program on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA, from the first jump ball of the play-in tournament to the last possession of the finals. Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with insight and analysis affecting all 30 teams. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kevin. I don't know who's coming on tomorrow yet. That's a mystery, even to me, but we'll have someone fun. And Kevin Danna, again, every Monday joins me, which I cannot thank you enough for doing so. Love you, man. And we'll do this again soon. Take care,
Yeah,
everyone.
it's a lot of fun. See you.
Later.